Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of the viewers from around the world. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of JForex Indicators Explained, we will be looking at the concept, the properties, the uses of a well-known indicator. The name is Normalized Average True Range. This is a derivative of the average true range which helps us in getting the value comparable across the instrument. In case of the ATR, you can't really compare it across the instruments. Suppose, for example, if you are having the ATR output for GBP USD as well as Euro USD, you can't really compare that volatility measure with each other. But if you normalize that output value, then across the instrument you can draw a comparison and you can figure out which is more of the volatile between these two, and that information is really helpful when you have to determine or decide on which instrument you really want to take the trade. And of course, higher is the volatility, higher is the opportunity to make a larger gain. So that's why I think this is one indicator which should be included in your trading tools, and it can help you figure out the opportunities while getting the volatility measured across various class of instruments. Here there is the chart for Euro USD. You can find this NATR fairly simply by doing this of any options. If you go for add indicator, you simply have to press F3, and there you will find this indicator listed amongst the volatility indicators. Else, if you do a quick search, in a quick search, all you have to do is type in its name, and you will have this indicator for you added on the chart. And once you have added it, you get this. Oh, it's taking some time to respond. Once you have added these indicators, you can then compare the volatility. Now, if we look at the Euro USD, if you are well aware of the concept of how the ATR is calculated, it is simply the difference between the current candles high and low, or the difference between the prior close and current high, or the difference between prior close and current low. So whichever is the largest difference, we they take that into account for that given period, and we add it to find out the average range over this calculation period. And for finding the NATR, all we have to do is get it normalized by comparing it to the instruments underlying instruments price, and once we have it in percentage form, we can then compare it across the various instruments. I think there is some snag with this platform. All right, it should be okay. Try one more time. Okay, we are getting this option now. Add indicator. For that, you have to go to volatility indicators. Here it is listed below the Donkin channel, which we saw in the last session. If you don't really want to take all this trouble, all you have to do is go to quick search and type in NATR, and we will have normalized average true range appearing for us. Now I am adding it to the Euro USD chart with the candle period defined at hourly. So we get this measure of last 14 candle periods. That simply means we are taking into account the volatility equivalent for last 14 hours, since each candle period is of hourly time frame. And then we get the idea of how volatile the instrument has been in respect of its actual price. If we have the ATR for 20 pips in case of Euro USD, then for NATR it will be closer to 0.2, as we have taken into consideration the instrument's price, which is roughly closer to 1. It is little over 1, but I am for taking it 1 for simplicity purpose. And then if we take the ATR output, which is around 20 pips, so we get this idea of an ATR being 0.20. Now, if we change the instrument, say for example, we take GBP USD. So in case of GBP USD, we have, of course, a higher volatility at 0.22. So you can make a informed guess that the volatility is a lot more in case of GBP USD. But if you go by its absolute value of the ATR, it is going to be somewhat closer to 25 pips or closer to 30 pips. I'm not precise here. And then we have to compare it to the GBP USD's actual value, which is somewhere close to 1.2, lower than 1.2. It is now exactly closer to 1.18. So we have this GBP USD, which is more than 15% up compared to the Euro USD. So for comparing the ATR, it won't be comparable. But if we take the NATR output independently, then these NATR outputs become comparable, and then we can figure out which one is more volatile and which one is less volatile. Say, for example, if we take the case of AUD USD, the AUD USD is actually more volatile than the GBP USD as well as Euro USD. So if you were to go for any short sell opportunities, then in that case you would have preferred to trade in these AUD USD, since there is a lot more volatility. So you can expect some big gains, some big moves, and if you happen to be on the right side of the trade, of course those gains will be larger. Whereas if you go for an instrument with the lower volatility, even if the trajectory is similar, even if the direction is similar, the gains are likely to be less. So that's why we rely on these NATR to figure out the volatility, and then using that data, we can make informed decision to trade in a particular instrument or not. Now, it is not really going to give you any idea of the momentum, whether it is bullish or bearish. That is not the purpose of the indicator. If we look at its output value, it is no way indicating the bearishness or the bullishness. It is not even giving you any idea of the strength of the trend. It doesn't really tell us anything about the trend. For trend, you have to use different mechanisms. You can go for the price action formations, or if you want to add, you can add different indicators like moving averages or oscillators. So that's always up to you. So you have to pair this indicator with any of the directional indicators, leading indicator or lagging indicator, any of your choice. And along with that, if you use NATR, then you get the good idea of the momentum as well as the volatility. So then if you get the momentum and volatility right, then of course the gains are likely to be much larger and in your favor. So it simply helps you increase the profitability. It is not going to make you profitable if your other strategies are failing. In that case, if you go for a volatile instrument while your strategy is failing, in that kind of scenario, you might actually end up losing more money. So you have to be careful, and you have to see to it that the trend is also right, and then the volatility is also on your side. Let us now head to the editing options and see what we can do to customize this indicator. Now here the default calculation period is 14. If you want to increase or decrease this calculation period, you can simply do that by changing this time period. To make it dependent on recent price data, you can decrease its calculation period, as I have done. Say for example, I have made it for 7, so it is going to take into consideration last 7 candles, which are of 1 hour each. So we are now getting this NATR output for last 7 hours worth of pricing data, and depending on that, we can make the trading decisions. So if you want the price action which has happened in recent past to be given more weight, or if you want the indicator to be purely calculated on that data only, you can decrease this calculation period to whichever calculation period suits your purpose. Or else if you want to figure out over the larger time horizon, then you can increase this calculation period. Say for example, if you want to take into consideration all 24 hours worth of pricing data to figure out the actual volatility, and you will get more stability. Whatever is the recent price fluctuation, it won't overshadow the earlier pricing movement, and all these calculation period will be distributive. So you will have almost all these 24 candles of 1 hour each being given the equal weight in this calculation of the NATR. So you will have a lot more stability even if there is too much of a fluctuation in any single candle. So that is the benefit of working with this larger calculation period. All right. Coming to the output combination, you can go for different color combinations. You get these options to figure out and define these styling combinations as per your aesthetics. So if you are a fan of brighter colors or some funky lines, you can go for any of these combinations. You can increase or decrease the weight. You can also play around with transparency. Suppose if you want to make it look less prominent, but at the same time you want to be able to read the data points, you can add a formation of this kind of nature. You can also define some levels. Suppose for example you need the NATR output to be more than certain predefined value, say for example 25, 0.25. So you can do that, and you can trade only when there is enough of volatility as per your predefined level. So that can also be done with this indicator. But for defining this any certain level, you will have to carry out the observations on the chart and then use that observation to figure out what kind of level might help you in defining these parameter. I'm going to remove it and restore it to the default. All right. Now we go back to the editing toolbox again. Advanced. If you want the output value to remain constant throughout the current candle period, then you can opt in for this option, recalculate on new candle only. In that scenario, this calculation of the indicator will remain constant throughout the current candle, even though the applied price might keep fluctuating. And if you opt out of this, then depending on the current applied price, the output of the indicator is going to keep fluctuating. So that is the difference. If you want the candle period calculation period actually to be highlighted, you can go for this option. So it makes you easier to remember what calculation period you are relying on while getting this output value. You can customize the calculation further. You can use this indicator on almost all of the instruments available on the platform. So whenever you change the instrument, Euro USD to say, for example, another instrument of your choice, GBP, not GBP, it is FTSE 100, CFD. You can have that instrument plotted with this indicator. So you can utilize this data to figure out the opportunities. Coming to this advanced editing option again, toolbox. Same thing you can do with the candle period. You can use it from the chart, whatever is the chart candle period. You will have this indicator calculated for that candle period. But if you want to use another candle period independent of the chart, that can also be done. Suppose, for example, you want this calculation to be dependent on 5-minute uh, candle period, even though the chart is of 1 hourly each, you can do that as well. So your output value of the indicator is now going to be calculated using lower time frame data, and it will show the fluctuation accordingly. The spread side can be ask or bid, and there will be slight difference depending on what kind of spread side you use. If you want the indicator to be available on all the candle periods, you have to opt in for this option. As you have to define on which time frame these indicators should be available, and only on those time frames this indicator will be plotted. For other time frames, there won't be any plotting of this indicator. So you can add multiple indicators with different time frames, and you can then read into that data at the same time. So it's simply for your convenience, so that you can gather more data points whenever you are making trading decisions and trade profitably. Edit. Base period can also be changed. It is going to make little difference. You can go for these combinations, and as you can notice, there will be a slight difference in the output depending on the kind of base period you are using for the calculation of this indicator. So guys, that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too for trying out this newly released trading platform. The link has been included in the bio, so give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. That's all from my side for today's session. Thank you all for joining in. I'll be back tomorrow with new indicator, new formation, new uses. So do come back tomorrow. Goodbye.